Give us 30 minutes each week to discover the trends that are shaping the future of retirement with That Annuity Show. We bring you conversations with industry leaders who are revolutionizing financial products, technology, and distribution channels. Now, here's your host, Paul Tyler.
Hi, this is Paul Tyler, and welcome to another episode of That Annuity Show. And today I'm actually doing the show solo. I don't have our normal set of co-hosts, but I think we're going to have a great conversation with our guest, Mr. Krish Krishnan, who is CEO and founder of Magnifact. Krish, welcome to our show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Paul. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's just start. Tell us who Magnifact is, and what does your company do?
Yeah, Paul. So thanks for the question. I started this company 10 years ago, and the real impetus for that was watching distribution struggle to get at data that's rightfully theirs. So you got all those complex systems. An agency is typically contracted with 50 carriers, 60 carriers. How do you get data sensibly into one view so that you get a 360-degree view of your business across multiple carriers, multiple product lines, multiple states, multiple wholesalers? That was really the rationale for giving me this idea to set up something like this. What happened is, so we spent like first 7 years, 8 years actually, spent a lot of time building out what I call the secret sauce, trying to build out an ecosystem that's going to serve not just the agencies, but also the insurance carriers, the TPAs, the all participants in this business model, to be able to get an aggregated view of the business across multiple personas and multiple attributes, multiple product lines. So that's really how it all started. So we have a patented platform called Agent Vision that does actually three things. Data aggregation, which basically means that for a carrier and for a distributor, those mean two different things. For a carrier, we would get data from multiple enterprise systems within the carrier ecosystem, like multiple CRM platforms, multiple policy admin systems, multiple payment gateways, bring everything together into one view for the carrier back office, and for all the downstream entities that would be contracting with the carrier. For an insurance agency or IMO, it means something completely different. It would basically mean that they would be getting data from multiple carriers into one view for themselves and for their downline. So that was one of the foundations. The second thing, what I call, is really visualization. Visualization really means to me slice and dice of data. So you can zoom into county level sales by product type, or a state level sale by wholesaler, product sale by distributor, by agent, looking at incentives and stuff like that. And currently I saw that people are sort of hard pressed to do that implementation because visualization tools that are commercially available are very expensive. And if you've got 20,000 agents, 30,000 agents, really, it becomes a very costly proposition to have something like that implemented. And the third thing, which is actually a plague in the industry today, is multiple formats, multiple data types, multiple fields. So what I mean by that is a carrier talks to a distributor. They have a different format for, let's say, sending case pending data. Carrier number 2 has got a different format for sending case pending data, and multiply that by different transaction types. It becomes a it's a big hairball. So we have come up with industry standard mechanisms for transmitting data between carriers and IMOs. So for example, you may have heard of the Insured Retirement Institute, the IRI.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so that's we were one of the first to implement it actually for a large tier 1 carrier. So we follow the activity status API guidelines to be able to get data from the carrier's policy admin system in real time, and then transmit that to all the IMOs and entities downline. So those are the three things we do very well. We have patented the suite. It's called Agent Vision. It's got really three products along the lines of what I mentioned: the Agent Vision browser, and the Agent Vision subsystem that aggregates all the data. We've got a mobile app because for sending out push notifications. So, for example, case pending data or a NIGO, is best communicated by alerting the producer to that fact, so they can go and log in and actually look at what the notification looks like. Is there a document review pending? Is there a suitability issue? Address it promptly, and then close the case much faster. So the placement times are shrunk dramatically as a result of all those push notifications. Also, Paul, think about things like rate change notifications, SLAs from carriers, and things like that. So you're talking about a tremendously efficient ecosystem that we have actually gone and built over the last few years. And the third thing that we do well is the Agent Vision API services. That's what I was referring to, where we have book of business, industry standard formats for exchanging book of business data, case pending data, and things like that. So that's the three things we built. It took us 8 years to get to this point, but we're very pleased at what we have accomplished till this point in time. So.
Well, yeah. Let's sort of dig into that 8-year comment. I was at InsurTech Insights in New York about 2 weeks ago, and caught up with a lot of friends, a lot of companies. Krish, a lot of good ideas on that floor. There were a lot of interesting companies. Some companies that I've seen for a while, saw their products morph a bit, saw some new ones. I would say honestly, it was. As exciting as it was, I was a little weary for those founders because I know how hard it is to get just a contract with an insurance company, let alone get them to pay you for something. So, okay, you've been at it 10 years. What made this happen for you? How did you build something where so many other people have struggled in this space?
Yeah, thanks again, Paul. Good question, actually. So we had to find a niche, right? So in the example that I just showed you, we talked about, if you look at it, there are people doing different things, but many of these are homegrown solutions. So one of the things we did is I started looking at, are there people doing something like this? And what's the biggest pain point that's not been addressed by someone? And I think we came across this because I know the data aggregation I talked about, right? I know there are homegrown solutions cultivated by larger IMOs and agencies where they go pick data from multiple sources, they load files manually. It's a lot of duct tape and glue and twine, but they get to a point where they can actually aggregate data and present it. But I was thinking a lot about automation. How do you automate it? Not add more people to accomplish the same task, but through automation, can you eliminate the labor? And therefore basically cross-train these people just to manage it, and then repurpose them for other jobs than just sort of feeding data manually and stuff like that. So I think we had a good sort of case in point in terms of a problem statement. And I tell you, I'll kid you not, I thought, within 3 to 4 years, we'll be there. I'll be honest with you. That's the founder's journey. It took me 8.5 to 9 years to get to this point. But one of the things I think I will do the same thing all over again is we didn't build this in isolation. I think that's a key point for any founder, really, is that we kept testing it. So we had 2 years into something. Is this going to work for an IMO? So we started working with IMOs and NMOs and FMOs, all the TLAs in this industry, to really test drive it first with all the agency side first. Once we got that perfected, and it took us 6 to 7 years, and in my opinion, there's nothing like ultimate perfection. You keep building and making it more and more perfect. We started addressing the carrier space and the TPA space. And that was actually great because the agencies would talk to the carriers and say, Why don't you provide us a solution for something like what Magnifact is doing? And I call that the network effect, and it really worked to our advantage, in my opinion. So thank you.
Interesting. And, now IRI, real interesting. We were there. I was there at the IRI conference. We've had, their CTO on our show, I guess, a couple months ago, talking about the initiative. How's that going? Like, and I guess it sounds like you were the first there with your API. Describe to me, where is the uh, insurance, the annuity industry in the life cycle of moving to these more digital standards?
I think what I'm seeing is that top 20 IMOs or top 20 carriers are eager to get this accomplished because they understand the value prop behind it, really. So we started with one of the top tier one carriers. And I think the key challenge that we have to cross here is this interface to legacy policy admin systems. That's something that people fear a lot. That's a pretty long bridge to cross, in my opinion, seriously. And, let alone real time. I would say that's the second hurdle, right? We got that right because what we had done, Paul, in our journey is build that secret sauce I talked about earlier, 8 years of hard labor. That finally yielded a lot of quick results. I could really apply that API services product line, the platform I talked about. We actually did that in record time, to tell you the truth. So there were two sides to this equation, right? One is you got to talk to the policy admin platform in real time on one side, take those messages and convert that to the IRI format, right? So there are really two legs to this race here. Um, it took us 6 months only to actually do both because we had all the recipes for the secret sauce already. We had to just sort of take it to the kitchen and get the dish out with, I guess. But yeah, so it is interesting. Now, what I see a lot of I would say solution providers or carriers or IMO struggle with this. How do I get this all together? How do I tie this all together? Where do we start, right? So I think that's really why I feel that we sort of started pretty early and completed pretty early in the race because of what we had before as far as the platform is concerned. Yeah.
A few real nerdy questions. Which policy admin systems do you talk to right now?
We talk to Fast, Verisk, who is a partner of ours. We are actually in discussions with. We can talk to other like ALIP, for example, or DXE, or so we can do all that right now. But what I'm in the process of doing is actually formulating partnerships so that you can basically have a implement once, repeat many model, not just for really from a commercial perspective. It's more like how do you get this industry to be better at what it does, So that's one of my objectives. Yeah.
Well, these connections are interesting. So you talk to ALIP, you talk to Fast, and you're actually DXC lets you talk to their system. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You must be like one of the only ones. Is that right?
I would think so. I mean, I haven't heard of commercial offerings. I'm sure, like I said, again, homegrown. I think my biggest, I would say, people often ask me, who's your biggest competitor? And I would say it's the IT department of this carrier company.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Yeah, interesting. So, in terms of now you're focused on the agent experience, correct? The agent, the customer experience.
That is largely true. Like I said, unless you clean the back office side of carriers, right? So it's sort of an ecosystem that connects all these entities together, in my opinion. So you cannot have a fantastic agent experience if there is a lot of cobwebs on the carrier side. So I've got to clear the basement first, get all the cobwebs written off from the carrier side to be able to afford them to provide a great agent experience on this side. So you see what I'm saying? So it's really, I would say, it's all interconnected, towards the end here. So yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to a nameless industry analyst a couple of weeks ago, and talking about what doing what you're doing could provide a more modern experience for agents, for customers. And this person's perspective was, well, Paul, that's just sort of kicking the can down the road for modernization, system modernizations that all these carriers have to do. I mean, what's your response if I said, yeah, that's great, Krish, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to modernize my system, and I'll have these APIs exposed, and you just hit them, hit my APIs.
So sorry, just to clarify. So the question is really, the carrier comes and tells you that they'll take care of their house. Is that what you're asking me? Sir?
Yeah, they're. You know what? Hey, thanks. That's great. You can talk to my older systems. I'm just going to get the new one, and I don't need that middleware here.
But still, you would still have to connect. So let's say there is an IMO that wants to get data from the backend system
Right.
of the carrier, right? The carrier has to implement some sort of protocol to be able to service that request, correct? So,
Right.
and there is always time pressures because the industry is booming at a pretty rapid rate. And here is where actually a risk factor comes in for the carriers. They have to be attuned and be very nimble in adopting these standards. Otherwise, they're going to lose a huge chunk of business out there. Because, for example, like we talked about before, Paul, an IMO would talk to, let's say, top 10 tier one carriers, right? If one carrier is not providing the data that they need in a timely fashion for whatever reason, then obviously they're going to focus a lot of their business on the other nine that they're transacting with. So I would say it behooves the carrier to come hail or fair weather to get that taken care of, either by themselves or through a vendor like us, to be
Right.
able to get the data together quickly back to the IMOs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, how much are the business models going to have to change? And just to sort of back up a bit of, I won't name the carriers. The last couple of carriers I've worked for, very reluctant to give agents, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years worth of data because, frankly, a lot of times, and I found this to be true, when I got a call from an agent saying, "Hey, Paul, can you give me a list of all of my policies?" That was kind of first sign that they were looking at moving a sizable block of business.
Yeah.
How does this change nature of relationships between carriers and distributors and IMOs?
Actually, that's brilliant. It's a brilliant question because I have been seeing for the last 10 years, even since I started this business, right? Carriers are actually listening a lot more. In fact, there was a sell-in study. I don't know the exact numbers, but there's been a perceptible change in terms of investment towards the distribution side. And carriers are always thinking about distribution satisfaction and how to improve satisfaction scores and stuff like that. In fact, also part of it is because of changing dynamics. I mean, we can't obviously, right? It takes two hands to clap. Producers are needing a lot more than they needed before 10 years ago. If you look at it, the demographics are changing. Okay, the dynamics are changing with producers. A lot more younger agents on the field these days. They're used to Instagram and all the social media stuff, real time info. So they're seeking real time info. No more batch. Batch is sort of dying. It's still there, I know, all over the place. Then there is a lot of mobility discussions, a lot more mobile stuff. Hey, I'm using my mobile app for everything. So I need a mobile app that can actually get me data, that can get me rate change notifications, that can alert me to situations I need to be acting on. And then, like I said, this instant notification business is really catching up a lot. So carriers cannot live in their old worlds, in their old ways, not really changing to it. And the consistency is another thing, right? The IRI is doing a fantastic job, in my opinion, really listening to what the problems are and actually addressing them. The consistency of data is a fantastic example, right? So carriers, as you rightly said, Paul, they would not give anything. Book of business data is missing lots of crucial fields. I'm not going to give you data beyond the last 3 months. It still happens today, right? But some of the standards like IRI has said, this is the minimum stuff. This is how it's going to work. These are the fields that we need to send to IMOs and vice versa and stuff like that. So that's actually, in my opinion, that's changing the way carriers are behaving. And I think that goes back to that sell-in study where carriers better to stay in business and to be more profitable and to improve their bottom line. They have to be very attentive and service oriented as far as IMOs are concerned and distribution is concerned.
Yeah, I've talked to a few regulators, and I've said to them, for those of you who don't know, when you file a product, you have to file these forms. It's like they're PDF forms that rarely get printed anymore today, but they get treated like they're paper. Like, this series states will say, "Oh, the font's got to be 10-point
Yeah.
font." It never gets printed. It never gets printed, but they make these changes to these things. And I said to them, Krish, a couple of them, I said, why not require the companies to file their API at the same time they do the policies? And I tell you, I have not gotten very far. I mean, would that help if the regulators required APIs for every single product that filed in the U.S.?
I think that will change, right? The adoption, I'm not going to kid myself, Paul. It's gonna take a while to get to that point. It's going to be realization, a lot of push from the entities that require them, but it's going to be a very slow process there. But I can tell you that on the flip side, things are changing. To your point, obviously, if you make everything electronic, and I can tell you, commission statements, because we go through the headache of automating commission statement processing in some of our projects, and you're right. And I think I'm not kidding. I kid you not, actually. To make the challenge, the bar higher, sometimes I've seen PDF files not just sort of PDF'd digitally, it's actually scanned to make it worse. So you can't even automate the extract of information, from those PDFs. But hopefully that's changing. Stipulations have to happen. There's got to be more IRIs actually policing some of these things. But I think it'll get there. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but I see that trend changing. Even in the last 10 years, like I said, again, there is a perceptible change in the philosophy of servicing and making things faster, making things more efficient, making things more electronic than things were before. So, yeah.
Interesting. Well, we've got to talk a little bit about the future. It's funny, I went on a run today. I was listening to my podcast. And I listened to an interview with the CEO of Cursor. Now, I'm assuming you've looked at Cursor. It's this AI coding development environment. And they've been in business. I think, they started this thing, and it's like, way back when in 2022, I think they started this thing, and it's valued at like $9 billion. Like, holy cow. It's incredible. But, I think this AI coding is really going to change. Eventually, it's going to change the insurance industry. I guess, what's your perspective on how much easier it will get to build a lot of these things you're describing, APIs, do the normalization of data? I mean, what does our insurance industry look like, 3 years from now with in an AI-enabled world?
Yeah, I can give you some firsthand, actually, stats here because we are using AI for some things, which I'll talk about in a minute. So I think AI has gone past, what I'd like to call traditional AI. Gen AI is all about forms and like text blobs and stuff like that. Now people are talking about agentic AI, where things get like a lot of autonomy in decision making, collaboration with multiple AI bots and things like that. Traditionally, as I think the industry, as far as insurtech is concerned, spent a lot of time on underwriting, faster underwriting using AI and claims and fraud detection and customer chatbots, customer service chatbots and such, right? Those are all great, but I can tell you from an insurtech perspective, I gave you a description of my business, right? We talked to multiple policy admin systems. We talked to multiple entities, multiple carriers, but think of it this way. We require data in format X, right? So we require, let's say, we need about 15 fields to be populated for a record. So no matter if I sort of interface with policy admin system 1 or policy admin system 2 or policy admin system 3, I would need those 15 fields populated to make sense of that data. So I'll give an example here. So the way we work is that we basically have, once we do all the coding work actually for policy admin system 1, we typically would run AI to be able to populate, write the code for Policy Admin System 2 and Policy Admin System 3 interfaces. So I would not have to, and I can give you order of magnitude, rough order of magnitude. So we typically takes about, like, I would say 7 weeks to do that manually, to populate those 15 fields on Policy Admin System 2. With the AI platform that we use, it actually takes 5 days. So that's the sort of, and I can tell you that's only the tip of the iceberg. Now we are also talking about, why don't we make it all automated? So let her rip. Policy Admin 3 would send data to us, and we can actually sense, like, that's the agentic AI part, figure out like where to sort of sort and rearrange those fields in the 15 field combo. So we don't have to even generate code for Policy Admin System 3. We would let it run runtime and then sort of figure it out automatically. So these are examples I'm talking about. That would probably require 0 days of coding once we have the prompts in place for Policy Admin System 3. So yeah, so we are seeing a lot of like wonderful results based on some proof of concepts we did with just the coding model I'm talking about. But we plan to take it further to intelligently sense data fields so that we don't have to manually code for those anymore. So
Interesting. Well, tell us more. Like, so obviously your company's knee deep, looking at applications right now. What else is on the horizon?
And I think I would say, I feel very good personally. Like I wear two hats. One is Magnifact and one is the industry. I feel very good from an industry perspective. We have made an impact, at least from a connecting, letting carriers and distributors talk to each other. I know it sounds very blasé the way I say it, but I think we have made definitely a great contribution in basically according tools to these entities that they can deploy and actually connect with each other and talk to each other and stuff like that through APIs, through mobile app notifications, through data aggregations and other services. But I think as far as where the industry is headed, we want to be very involved in the mobility aspect of it, not just the AI aspect of it. I think it's getting to be a lot more mobile. So at your fingertips, you want to be able to see production across 50 carriers. You want to be able to see everything, manage your entire business, look at incentives. Am I qualified to get to Cancun next month, and how many points do I need to get there? And the carrier is actually telling you that you're going to sell 20 more policies to get to that point, or a premium worth like $50,000 worth of premium to reach that milestone. I'm able to proactively work on it and make things better for myself. So I think the mobility aspect is going to be a big focus. I know it's not there yet because people think it's like, too arcane. The mobile, no one's going to use the mobile app. I hear that all the time, but that's not reality. In fact, we had a case study published, Paul, on our website where we basically were sending push notifications on pending cases and NIGOs to FPs. And they're recognizing tremendous value in that because they're able to close cases much faster because of the notifications that come on their mobile app. So that's an example. So I would say mobility and data consistency through this IRI like standards is going to really gain a lot of traction in the upcoming months and years, in my opinion. So
yeah. No, I listen. I agree. Last company we last two we did mobile apps. We did put for the very same reason, and we got the same pushback. But the agents used them. They liked it.
Yeah.
They all have cell phones. It's a platform they all have and they like. Well, I guess we're nearing the end of the time. I mean, what are your big bold predictions here over the next 3 to 5 years for the industry?
Yeah, AI is definitely going to change, and change the way people operate today. I think it's going to probably in the next 3 years, in my opinion, 70 to 80% of the business is going to be run by AI as far as insurtech is concerned. A lot of what I talked about, underwriting, processing claims, stuff like that from a functional perspective, and even the IT. I see from our own experience, I'm seeing a big big sort of, we need more prompters. We need a lot more intelligent prompting skills to be able to do a lot more with a lot less. But I would say that carriers will be able to do, and IMOs, deploying this technology, would be able to accomplish a lot more, drive bottom line. It doesn't mean that you get rid of people. That's actually a big myth, in my opinion. I would say you're adding people because you're doing a lot more on the other side. So all the routine tasks and even intelligent tasks, you're automating that through AI, but you're able to do a lot more other work in other areas. Maybe you expand your product lines, stuff like that, using the people that you have. So I would say that AI is not, I don't see AI as a threat that people make it out to be. I think it's a great tool, a handy tool to do a lot more and drive your bottom line. So I think that's going to be the focus, and mobility. I think these are the two aspects that people have generally ignored in this industry, but those are going to come into the forefront, Paul. That's my prediction. There's going to be a lot of things happening on that front in the upcoming.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Listen, I love data. Yeah. I love taking friction out of a system. You're doing all of that. So thank you for what you're doing. Okay. And I think we need more companies like yours behind the IRI initiatives. Krish, people want to find out more about Magnifact, or they want to connect with you. What's the best way?
Yeah, you can visit our website, www.magnifact.com, or you can email us at info@magnifact.com. That's the best way to get in touch with us. So.
All right. Well, good. Listen, thanks for your time. And also, I want to thank our listeners for spending time with us. Please like us, leave us comments. Apparently, Apple Podcast rewards you the more you get reviews on this. But the most important thing is join us again next week for another great episode of That Annuity Show. Thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you very much.
Nassau Financial Group is always working harder to be your carrier of choice. We build products that help protect people's savings and are dedicated to providing you with best-in-class service. We seek to keep things simple and have your back in the years to come. Nassau is headquartered in Hartford, Connecticut. Learn more at nfg.com.
Zinnia, an Eldridge Industries business, simplifies insurance. It delivers comprehensive solutions for the industry's most critical needs and creates the modern rails of the insurance industry. To learn more about Zinnia, please visit zinnia.com.